Peace and blessings, family. As you can see, me and my man Jimmy Mac are back for another discussion. This isn't Church After Hours or Who Made Y'all Priests. This is another discussion that we will have about one of our vacation/excursions. Last time we was here, we went to Panama and we talked about our experience with ayahuasca, the fact that we didn't get to our experience with rape, and the fact that we didn't get to do cacao. But this time we're gonna talk about Egypt. So Mac, you ready to get into this one tonight, man? This gonna be fun, man.
It is, man. What's going on, family? Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm good. I'm happy to see you, brother. It's been a week since we've been back stateside. So for those of you that don't know and don't follow either one of us on social media, we just got back from Egypt, as our Kemet and brothers would say, Kemet, you know what I'm saying? It was a great experience. And I gotta give good props right now before we go any further to Jimmy Mac and to Baba Dare. Baba Dare set up this trip. It was a great trip. Everything was laid out. Everything was damn near perfect. You know what I mean? And it was a great experience. So we go dig into the experience and talk about what that experience was like. I met some new people that I didn't know that are from the Houston area where Mac and Dare are at. And it was just a great overall experience, man. So let's dig right into it, man. Day one. And each day had a theme to it. So day one was we got there on a Sunday night, and it was our first night there. Everybody got in from different places. Myself and Rhythm, we flew in from Chicago. Or my cousin B flew in from Chicago, and then we met Dare and Mac there. Talk about the first night, man, when you got off the plane and we met up at the Hilton Ramsey's and we had dinner at the Breeze, man. Talk about your first night there and what it felt like to be on the mother continent.
Well, first of all, so Brian and I actually caught the same flight from Turkey.
Flight.
Yeah, from Istanbul to Egypt, right? So, I get my ticket, I pay for the upgrade, right? I'm in first class. You know what I'm saying? Right. I walk in, I hear my name, I see B, first class chilling, right? But when I had got to the gate, man, they done crossed my number out and gave me another seat. So I saw it, man. I seen B. B was like, "You here?" I showed him my ticket like I was supposed to be. So, but it was all good, man. Hey, man, that first night, it was cool. Call it a hazard from growing up in the type of neighborhood that I grew up in. I always think about the hustle. So I was like, man, they ain't even asked for the visa. I could have saved that little money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They ain't saying nothing about the visa. So, but the airport was small, man. It was easy for us to get through the airport. Baba Dare had arranged for us a driver. So we got the driver. It was about a 30-minute drive from the airport in Cairo to the hotel. And the first thing that I noticed is that, shout out to all my Muslim brothers and sisters, but they not Ramadan, or y'all not Ramadan here like they Ramadan over there.
Absolutely not.
Because when the sun go down,
they turn up.
Turn up. So when we coming through, because we stayed downtown, Cairo, it's jumping. Like, I mean, it was a smooth ride all the way until we hit downtown. The streets is jumping, and it's late, right? And I'm looking at the taxi driver, like, I mean, not the taxi driver, but our driver, like, hey, this is how it go down. He said, it's after Ramadan. The sun done went down.
Yeah.
I said, oh, y'all lit.
Yeah. And it's funny because I thought the same thing. Once we came from the airport and touched down at the hotel, and we met up, checked in our rooms, and met up with y'all and had dinner at Breeze's, which was probably my best meal I had there the whole time I was there.
Absolutely.
I'm telling people, my homegirl Kendra went to Egypt last year, and she's like, Diallo, like, the food is not the greatest. So if you find something, you might want to, you know what I'm saying, repeat that while you're there. And I wish I could have went to Breeze's a couple more times while he was there. But after dinner, we was standing out on the deck, and I got video that I showed on social media. I was like, why? It was like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. This is like, it was the middle of Times Square. Like, why is there so many people outside? And the next day they told us, like, when Ramadan is in and once the sun goes down, like, people be out. They be getting it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they really gets it in. And the crazy part is they was also saying how restaurants and businesses would stay open to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning so people, could eat and, do their things that they would normally do outside of Ramadan. So that was my first experience as well. It's like peeping how alive the city was. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. And this was my first Muslim country I ever been to.
Yes.
But they love they squares, boy. I'm
Oh
telling
my
you,
God.
they wasn't drinking, but they was hitting them squares.
Man, it's funny you said that because I told my brother, I'm like, yo, man, I've never seen so many people smoke cigarettes, man. It's like the whole country smoke. And, one of the things that we don't really think about no more, because back in the day, in the 80s, you could smoke wherever. And America now, it's hard to smoke anywhere. And I was getting so annoyed because people was smoking in public places and the smell was just killing me, especially when we was in the airport in Luxor. Like, they was just firing it up like crazy.
Right.
It was nuts. But let's get to official day one, man, which I thought was a top 3 day in Egypt. And that was day one when we went to the pyramids of Giza, and we went and saw the Sphinx, aka the Haram Maquette. Talk about that ride from the hotel, knowing we was about to go see, one of the 7 wonders of the world, man.
It's crazy because it's literally basically like in the middle of the city.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like you got, people walking around, taxis, people driving crazy, and then you look over to the right and you see pyramids. Right? And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. But we've all seen all the pictures and the whole nine, but to be there, and to see its location in regards to how you just got people moving about. And it seemed like these people, these Egyptians ain't really studying the backdrop, right?
Right.
But it was like larger than life, man. Like just pulling up on it and just seeing how it just like bigger and bigger and bigger the closer you got. Man, It was just like, wow.
Yeah. And that part is so true because like you could see it like literally 15, 20 miles away. That's how massive they were. So as we got closer and closer, like I have footage from the furthest back we were all the way up until when we got there. And it was definitely bigger than life. And anybody that studied ancient Egyptian, mysticism and, and that whole school of thought, you've seen these pyramids online, you've seen pictures of them, DVDs, but when you see it in person, it's a totally different experience. Like you realize how massive these things are, man. And it was like something you've never seen before. And I've been to Mexico and been to the Chichen Itza, which is a really nice sized pyramid. But I mean, the pyramids at Giza was like twice the size of the Chichen Itza. You know what I'm saying?
Smashing.
And you've seen all 3 of them right there together, which was crazy. And then we had an opportunity to go into the Great Giza Pyramid. Talk about that experience, man. Like, talk about how narrow they are, how if you claustrophobic, you might want to consider not going up into them, because we posted some videos and some pictures going inside them. Talk about your personal experience of going inside the pyramids and walking through them.
Yo, so I kind of got this thing about caves and stuff, and I like caves, and when I went to South Africa, I went to a cave, you got to get low and all that. But this was crazy because you got to go up, like you got to, basically climb up a little ways of the pyramid.
Right.
And then it's a steep shot. Mm-hmm. And the further you go, the lower it get, the lower you got to get. And it's like a hood bar. It's one way in and one way out.
Way out. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And like, this is like, I know in America, we don't travel like that, but the rest of the world does.
Yeah.
So this was like imagine Disney World or, for the Cincinnati folks, Kings Island. Yeah. Like this was like, you know what I'm saying? The Beast. This was the major roller coaster.
Waiting in line. Absolutely. That's exactly what I thought.
And it's hot in there. And like I said, it's steep and you bent down trying to crawl in there. Man, it ain't for the faint of heart. You know what I'm saying? But it was dope. It was dope.
And Mac is right. Now mind you, Dare, shout out to Baba Dare at Gone World Tours. We're going to shout you out this whole video. Before we even got there, I think it was like a week before, he sent us the weather report. So it was like 95 to 100 in Cairo all week. But in Aswan, which was in Upper Egypt, it was a little bit hotter. So I think that first day when we went to Giza, it was like 98, 99. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine it being 98, 99 outside. Imagine what it's like going through the bowels of those pyramids, man. Like it had to be 110, 115 degrees inside of there, easy. You know what I'm saying?
Easy.
And the thing that threw me for a loop was one, how narrow they were, and I didn't realize at the moment how many people were still in there because we thought once you go in, you come out on another side. But like Max said, it's like a hood bar. Ain't no other side.
Mm-hmm.
So those people that went in front of us are now walking out as we trying to come in, and it was congested. You know, brothers, got real hot up in there and got a little claustrophobic. And I was telling people when we get to the Valley of the Kings, I made a video saying how if you're not in some form of shape, you don't need to go to Egypt. Because if you're trying to go to the pyramids and the Valley of the Kings and all these places and these temples, like you got to be in some form of shape. We seen some people get KO'd by that Egyptian sun, boy. It was no game.
Absolutely. But it's cool. Like imagine like the width of a sidewalk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you got, rails on both sides. So it ain't like you can get like on the sidewalk. If you walk and somebody coming, you can walk out in the street or walk into the grass. No, you basically hugging the side of that rail like while they squeeze by, and you know what I'm saying. You got to be aggressive pretty much to be able to get in and get out. Like you just got to just manhandle your way in. And when you in there and you look, like it keeps going like as far as you can see, man. I'm like, these things are massive, and it's at an incline too.
Yes, at all incline.
At
it was
incline.
easy. It was easy coming out, but going you straight incline like you on the treadmill on 20, just like going straight up.
Right, and it's like it keeps getting narrower and narrower. So at the last stretch, like I had to basically hands and knees to get through there, man. But it was worth it though.
Yeah, it was. And then after we got out of the Giza, we went and saw the other two. We took a horse and buggy to go out into the desert and take our touristy photo. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Which was dope. Where you can see all of the other smaller pyramids and the Sphinx around it, which was dope. So we leave there, go to lunch, have lunch, and then we thinking our day is over, but our day is really just getting started because we left lunch and go to the step pyramids and check out those pyramids, which is like 20, 30 minutes away from the Great Giza pyramids. And that's when we had to do some real walking. Like walking up into those pyramids was even steeper than going into the Great Giza. Talk about those before we transition to day two.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to also preface this because we all were, well, at least D and myself were tracking, and Baba Dore for that matter.
Yeah,
we were averaging 7 miles of walking a day.
Easy. And that first day, we did 42 flights. That like floors, like flights, just from going up and down in those pyramids. So yeah, you was getting it in for sure.
Absolutely. So on this one though, this one was even worse because you went way up.
Yes.
Like you went way up top, and the entrance even was lower than the entrance at the Giza.
Right.
So that one was crazy. I will say though, at least in the step pyramid, once you got to the end, you can actually like stand up.
Right.
And you go into a nice sized room actually, where you can stand up and spread out, walk around a little bit. And again, man, it was just looking at how massive these things were.
Man.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, man, they had to have a whole lot of Hebrew Israelite slaves to build that thing.
This dude is wild, man. But we go mosey. I gotta tell on ourselves, we was acting like colonizers. And shout out to brother Abdul who checked us. Because when we was at the step pyramids, it was a lot of limestone all over the complex. So of course, brothers had to take some limestone, and brother Abdul was like, man, y'all stop acting like colonizers, man. Leave that limestone right there. But we had to take a couple pieces. I brought a couple pieces back. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely brought some back.
Yep. So day two, we get up, and we was getting up at the butt crack of dawn every day. I ain't gonna talk about the knockers that was late a couple times. You know what I'm saying?
Like late.
And I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna hold you right here. This is a reason why I don't like traveling with a lot of people, when you're on these type of trips, because if one or two people late, it messes up the whole day. You get behind, you know what I'm saying? But shout out to our tour guide, Baba Dare. He held it down, made sure people got there even when they was late. But we went to the Egyptian Museum, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Mac. This was not a highlight for me. I expected more than what I got there. How was the Egyptian Museum for you? What was your thoughts about it?
It was reality because you and I had talked about you talked about in Ohio there being Egyptian exhibit. I told you about down here in Houston there being Egyptian exhibit, and basically the artifacts of our ancient ancestors is placed in museums all around the world, man.
Yeah.
All around the world. So like what you were saying, I felt like I seen just as much from a museum standpoint, right? Not obviously with the pyramids and all that. We're not talking about that, but just from the aspect of the museum, I've seen about as good, if not better, here in the States.
Yeah. Now, the second part of that day was crazy dope, and it was a great experience. We went to the oldest Egyptian market in Cairo, where people. This is like if you ever been to New York, especially in the summertime when it's nice, and you go to Canal Street and you see the brothers and sisters out there selling any and everything. Imagine that times 100, and I say 100, I really mean 100. Talk about our experience at the market, Mac, when we was in Cairo and went to the open market.
Yeah, the market was dope. I seen pictures of the market, on the internet. I didn't see exactly. I feel like there's this one shot that I see. I don't think I actually saw that part of it, but man, the market was dope. There was a mosque there, so at the time maybe it was like a call to prayer at the time, so it was jumping.
Yep.
And I don't even remember what day of the week it was because I had no concept of day.
That was Tuesday. That was
Okay.
Third day. Yep.
Okay. So, but it was cool. It was cool. We probably got some of the best souvenirs.
Absolutely.
From that place. We actually found somebody and posted up. You know what I'm saying?
I feel bad because I can't think of the brother's name, man.
Right. He was cool.
He was super cool.
He actually had been to the States.
Yep.
And he had been to I think he said Michigan and
Detroit and New York. Yep.
Yeah, Detroit and New York. And he had told us a story about how he had smoked some weed in New York and got on the scooter on the highway.
Which, if you was in Cairo, it's commonplace because we saw scooters on the highway everywhere. So when he told us the story, I'm like, they do that here, but you in the United States, brother, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But he was super cool, and he was showing love.
He was.
We were showing love, and I actually saw my man D fold for the first time ever because the day before we had went to a spot. And with the oil, that's the day before we went to go see Tika, right?
Yeah, we saw Tika Monday, and and then we seen my man from that we met at the market on Tuesday.
Right. So D didn't want to holler at nobody. He said, "Man, y'all ain't showing Tika love, man. Man, I need to go back to go see Tika."
Right.
After we went and seen old buddy, man, Tika's name was Mud, man. Cause dude was showing love, man. I bought all kind of souvenirs from dude. Did you buy oils from dude, did you?
I bought oil, and Mac is 1,000% correct. Cause the thing that made dude so dope, and I know his partners would be mad if they knew this. He was giving us the game on everybody on the block. Like, yo, these t-shirts is only worth about $3 or $4. So if you go give them something, don't go no more than $5 US. You know what I'm saying? So I bought my son's t-shirts from him. I mean, from the guys next door. He was giving us game on everybody on the block. And I got a bunch of oils from him. So all my family members that I brought oils back from, I got them from my dude. He was super dope, man. We chopped it up in his spot for like 30, 40 minutes. Me and B and
we was there for like an hour.
Might have been an hour. Yeah, we was there chilling. And one thing they do in Egypt, they go give you some tea. Every spot we went in, they gave us hibiscus tea. You know what I'm saying? His stuff was a little bit too sweet, like grandma from down south. Put some sugar in it. so we couldn't drink it. But they showed mad love, man, and that was my man for real.
Yeah, because we told him, we said, hey, we just staying in here till it's time to leave. Like, we found what we needed.
Yeah,
He
we
was
hit our
like,
lick.
cool,
Right,
chill,
right.
you know what I'm saying?
We hit our
But
lick.
that also was the place where I had took a picture. Well, I ain't take the picture. Either D or Brian took the picture
I took the picture.
where, you know what I'm saying, I was walking around arm in arm, like, you
With an
know,
elder.
with an elder. So I was looking for something in particular, like a particular herb. And from what I found, it was indigenous to Egypt. So I'm asking these people, whatever, and I like hold my arm out, like, well, I hold my left arm out and I'm pointing to like, is this what you saying it is? And then dude just took my arm and then wrapped it in his, and we walking like this, arm in arm,
Right.
like I'm his girlfriend.
You see the picture right here. That brother got in tune with his divine feminine. You know what I'm
I
saying?
got so in tune with my divine feminine. I'm walking around, right? And this is how I know it was real bad. Because at one point we had stopped and I ain't take my arm down. Like,
Right, right,
I was just chilling. Like,
right,
this is what we doing now. So,
right.
but yeah, man, they were showing mad love, man.
Yeah. So that was super dope. And then we get to day 4, where we have to pack up our room, pack up our bags, and now we leaving Cairo, headed to Aswan, which is Upper Egypt, Upper Kemet. And this is where the Nubians is at. The brothers that's blue, black, the brothers that look like us. And talk about that flight. Because I didn't realize we was gonna be taking so many flights. Like I'm bad at reading itineraries and all that kind of stuff. Because when I travel, my wife just do all that. Like I'm lazy. I ain't go front. So I'm like, hold on, we flying to another city. Like I thought we was gonna be in the van or in the car, but we fly to Aswan, man. Talk about touching down in Aswan, and then our first stop was immediately the Nubian Museum, which I thought wasn't as big or as extensive as the Egyptian Museum, but I felt like I learned more and had a better experience in the Nubian Museum. Talk about that transition from Cairo to Aswan.
So aside from Baba Dare, who lived in Egypt in Cairo for 8 years,
Yep.
and he taught Egyptology and math and things of that nature. We also had a tour guide who was an Egyptologist in Cairo. Well, when we touched down in Aswan, then we had another guy that was there that met us, and
Rafi.
Rafi, yeah,
Shout out to
and
Rafi.
who was kicking us the game. But the thing that I love though is while we down there, everybody's
Cousin,
cousin,
brother.
welcome,
Yep. Yep.
welcome. You are Nubian. You are
Yep.
Nubian. Welcome home. So, that was dope. I mean, a little bit of that was just trying to get their hustle off to, which I
Right.
ain't mad at them. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? But man, it was a lot of love. And one of the things that kind of couple years ago when I tried to plan a trip to Egypt that kind of had me thrown off, and I was like, man, I wanted to, if I'm gonna go to Africa, I want to have an experience with the people, right?
Right.
And I wasn't going to be able to be around Black Africans. But this trip, because Baba had all them connections and had lived there, man, we was able to go see actual Black Egyptians. So just that part of it alone was dope, man. That right there was just mind blowing for me.
Yeah. And just to drive that point home, I forget the young brother's name, but they let it be known, and they made a distinction that I had never heard any Egyptians really talk about. They was like, y'all just came from Cairo. Like, yeah, we was in Cairo, saw the Giza pyramids and all that. And the one brother was like, listen, they're Egyptians up there. He's like, down here, we consider ourselves Nubians. Like, he was very specific about saying that and making that differentiation in of the two people, which I thought was really dope. Like, because Aswan felt like we had left Egypt and went to a totally different country. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the people was darker. I felt like the people were nicer. Cairo reminded me, it had a little US vibe, how everybody was kind of out for self doing their thing. Aswan, people was more friendly because everybody is trying to hustle no matter where you at in the country. But I just felt like the people in Aswan was a little bit more inviting. And it may be because of, we look more like them. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
I just love that experience. The Nubian Museum, if you go to Aswan, you got to go check that out. It's a great museum. It's not the biggest, but it's a lot of good artifacts in there. And Rafi did a good job of breaking down all of the things that we were asking questions about. And then one funny part of being in Aswan that I gotta mention, was Mac and my dude what is my man
Jose?
Jose was not going. Y'all see the pictures? We went to the unfinished obelisk, or the AKA the unfinished Tekken, and we looking at the obelisk lay down, and just Mac and Jose and Brian was not buying what Rafi and Babadori was trying to tell them, how that this obelisk was just unfinished and how it was broken. Talk about that, man, because that was one of the funniest moments of the trip, just seeing y'all go back and forth with Rafi and Babadori.
So everybody knows what. Well, for those who don't know what an obelisk looks like, it's a elongated structure that at the tip goes into like a pyramid shape.
AKA the Washington Monument.
Yes. So there is a big block, a long big block, but it's a big block.
Yeah.
In the middle of the neighborhood. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's a fee to go check it out. And they call it unfinished obelisk. So me, Brian, and Jose, like, how did they assume that this was going to be an obelisk?
Right.
So everybody was like, well, look at the shape. Okay. So here's the quarry right here down in the front. How the hell was they going to make that here and then take that all over this different stuff to get, like, I'm like, it's a stretch. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying it's a stretch. You know what I'm saying? And I am the biggest critic in the world. You're gonna have to make it plain for me. I was looking like, nah. And Rafi and Dari was definitely trying to sell it. And I was, well, look at it.
Right.
I said, oh, I can show you a whole lot of things that look like that.
Right. Hey, Rafi and Babadari was trying to convince them, but they was not buying what they were selling, man. It was classic. It was classic. I think I got that on video, man. Me and Rhythm was dying laughing, like, these boys is wild. Now we moved to day 5, which to me was my highlight of the trip. You know what I mean? And this was, we left Aswan. Well, we were still in Aswan because Aswan is huge.
Mm-hmm.
But we left our hotel and drove like 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours. We was so far at the border. We was like literally 20 miles from Sudan. And you know me, and I'm like, if I'm that close to the border, I'm gonna go to another country. Let's go. But we had, Brian had told us the night before it was like some uprising or something was going on in Sudan. But we wasn't going to go no way. But just being that close, the traveler me wants to go and mark off another spot that I went to. Right. And this is Lake Nasser, aka Lake Nas. And this was so dope. This was where King Ramses' temple was at, and the temple that he built for his wife Nefertari. Talk about when we came down the side of that mountain and we saw what we saw, man. You know what I mean? Just talk about that, because to me it was breathtaking.
First of all, he is the greatest pharaoh in Egyptian history. I mean, after we left there, though, other things that we talked about, we just kept hearing his name come up. Yeah, right?
He's like the man.
Yeah, that's the
him and Thutmose. That was the running debate the whole time we was there. Who's the coldest, Ramses or Thutmose?
Yeah, and this is Ramses the second. This is
yes,
the let my people go. He the one who had the Hebrew Israelites in the chokehold. Let them tell it.
This dude is wild.
So that's him. But man, this thing was dope. So first of all, what was dope about it is that where it was is not where the Egyptians built it.
Correct.
Because of the flood.
Right.
And they wanted to preserve it. So they basically took it apart piece by piece and numbered the pieces and moved it back to where to where the flood waters wouldn't get to it.
Yep.
But man, when we hit that corner, like D said, man, it's like there was 2 situations where out loud I just said, wow. And that was one of them.
That was one of them. Giza and that for sure. Those 2 right there.
Like it was, man, the workmanship, man, the craftsmanship, the skill of these people to be able to do that was just, man, it was dope. And then inside the temple,
even colder.
the pillars that all the way up to the sky, and the hieroglyphics. And from that moment on, everything that we saw was all about the balance of the masculine and feminine, the unification of two, whether it was depicted by the sun and the moon,
Right.
or a masculine entity or deity and a feminine deity. Everything was about the balancing of those two energies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the way they told a story, and Rafi, the Egyptologist, would tell us the story. I would call it the classical Egyptologist stuff,
Right.
and then Baba Dari would come
And come in
behind it.
and give us that seasoning and just sprinkle us.
He'd give us that Lowry's on that fried chicken and that
Absolutely.
macaroni and cheese and greens, and bring it to how it was talking about the body.
Right.
And I was like, whoa. But they kept hating on him though,
Yeah, they did.
because the security would come and be like, you can't be
And
talking, you can't
you
do
can't be
this.
in here teaching. Right, right. And it's crazy because Mac is right, because not only would Darby be teaching us, the people that was in there sightseeing on their own, I feel like they was like, yo, we want to get what he putting down too. You know what I mean? So that's when they was like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
every temple we went into, when Darby started dropping it, the haters came, you know what I'm saying? It was like, yo, you can't teach. They only wanted the Egyptologists to talk about what was going on inside of these temples. And Ramses' temple was so cold. I give him a lot of credit, because his wife's temple, Nefertari, wasn't as big as his, but to me, it was just as impactful. Like
Mm-hmm.
the wow factor was still there with hers. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
the way it was preserved, the walls, the craftsmanship. When we got to the Holy of Holies, and Dare broke that down. I have that on videotape. Like it was immaculate. It was immaculate. Like I was full. Like honestly, I could have came back home after that. Like that's how overwhelming it was, and how satisfying it was to see the craftsmanship, like Mac talked about, and how great these human beings were at putting this edifice together. Like it was immaculate, to say the least.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It was
Absolutely.
immaculate. It was immaculate. So we moved right along to day 6, which was a fun day, because day 6 was more of a chill day. We was in them Aswan streets, you know what I'm saying? Because the next day we get ready to cruise up out of Aswan. So what do? Us being world travelers, we're like, man, we got to go touch the people. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing that me and Matt have all guided ourselves, and no matter what country we go to, we got to go see the real people, get out of these touristy spots. So we take a horse and carriage, and we just go through the streets of Aswan, man. Talk about that night, and how it was me and Rhythm in one horse and carriage, and then Brian and Jimmy in another one. And the guy that was not driving, but administering our horse and carriage was a little bit older than their guy, so I could tell he was kind of G-checking dude, man. Talk about that night and what it was like just going through the streets of Aswan and seeing the beautiful people, and seeing we saw a beautiful mosque there too. Talk about that experience.
First of all, you can get anything in Aswan.
Anything.
Cause dude, he asked us if we wanted some crack. And I said, at least that's how I heard it.
Right.
The dude who was driving the joint with me and Brian, I said, did you just ask if we wanted some crack? I said, nah,
right.
we ain't them type of Americans.
No, we ain't doing that, G.
Yeah. Nah, dude, you got us all wrong. But dude kept trying to get us to want to go to the spice market. I don't know if he had a cousin who had a business there. He was trying to help, because he was like, you want to go to the spice market? I'm like, nah, man, we won't go to the spice market.
We cool.
So we in the hood, like we go off the beaten track.
Yep.
But dude is lunching. I don't know what's going on with dude, but your guy was like heated. So our dude was just, man, he was everywhere, but we were just weak, man. He had us in the hood though. He had us really seeing the people. That's for sure.
Yeah. And the thing I loved about it is that everybody was so welcoming, man. And people were like, oh, you go to these other countries, you be scared. It's like, nah, man, I think people pick up on your energy. We was just having fun. We was cool. Like, wasn't nobody tripping, you know what I'm saying? And I felt like that's the energy that they was giving back to us. Like, you know what I'm saying? So just going through Aswan, going and seeing the people touching down, and, just enjoying that moment was dope, because man, they be working the heck out of them horses, man. And we got a horse story we gonna tell a little bit later as we get closer to the end, man. So the next morning we wake up, it's now day 7, and now we are on the cruise ship, and we're now cruising from Aswan to Luxor. Talk about the cruise, man. And shout out again to Barbadar. I got to give him credit. I got to throw Jimmy under the bus just a little bit. So like a week or two before we went, Jimmy was like, man, what kind of boat we gonna be on, man? Like, is this a real cruise ship? Like, what? So Dare talking his talk, like, look, Jimmy, is this a real cruise? So he's showing us footage from inside the cruise ships. I'm like, oh yeah, this cruise ship is dope. So once we get on, I'm like, yeah, Dare was right. The cruise ship was dope. Our rooms was dope. And we just get to chill out and cruise up and down the Nile until we get to Luxor. Talk about that experience and being on the cruise and going to Luxor from Aswan.
So first I was a little nervous because the way they do it though is you walk through boat to boat to boat.
Yes.
So that first boat, I was like, I didn't know that at that time. I said, oh no, this what we doing?
Right.
But it was just a boat that we had to walk through to keep going because this is how they do it. Like all the crew, it's all these different cruise ships, and you just walk through one to get to yours. I think ours was the last one.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, man, it was nice when you walked in, you know, and you turn to the right. It's a big open space with couches.
Yep.
And you know, you go all the way to the back. It's a bar. It's a 3-level cruise ship, but there's no elevator, but you don't carry your bags upstairs. You know, they got people who take them up and bring them down for you. And then you go. Well, take that back because it's 4 levels.
It's really 5 if you count the top deck. If you count the top deck.
Yeah. Because then you go downstairs is where we would eat all our meals.
Yeah.
But on the second floor, they had like a jewelry store, like a legitimate jewelry store. And then they had another store where a guy was selling, you know, different merchandise. I ended up buying something from both of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my cartouche that I got. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Brian, where your cartouche at, B?
Yeah, B cartouche was slick.
His joint was clean too.
That's why I ended up doing it. Cause see, I ain't really a big fan of conscious jewelry.
That's a whole nother debate. We used to talk about this all the time. Mac be killing conscious jewelry. Like, man, it's trash, B. So when we was in Cairo, Brian bought a cartouche from Brother Tika who sold the oils. So every day he seen it like, man, that's kind of fresh.
Right.
He found dude on the boat that made him one as well. It was sick.
Cause like, you gonna get one of them? I'm like, nah, I don't do conscious jewelry. Like that's not my speed.
Right.
But when I seen Brian's, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta cop me one of them.
Yeah, that joint was fresh.
But yeah, and then like you said, it was at the top of the deck. It had like the little loungers, like you at the beach.
Right.
And they had some other tables. It was a bar up there. Man, it was nice. So I had to get me some little medicine or some herbs from the crib, you know what I'm saying? Just in case, make sure I ain't have no motion sickness. And this is my first cruise ever being on. So I'm in the shower at the time it took off. And I'm like, oh, hold on now. Like, oh, it's a lot. This is a lot moving. There's a lot going on. Right. But man, the cruise was dope. And then what really made it dope, we didn't see no black people.
Nope. Not
other than from America.
Yep.
The whole time until we got there. It was a church group from Houston of all places.
Yep.
50 deep that was in there.
They was deep.
And then it was some black people. They was Ethiopian from Dallas. It was some siblings. It was a brother and 3 sisters. So it seemed like it was a mostly black tour.
Yeah.
I mean, cruise between our group and theirs.
Right.
So that was pretty dope. That was cool, man. And then we met some other Americans and people from different countries. But man, the ship was nice, and that being our transportation was dope.
It was because you hear about the Nile, you know, the longest river in the world, you know, Mississippi #2, just cruising on the Nile, like just sitting in your room and looking like, wow, this is dope. Like that was another one of those nostalgic moments. Like, man, like this is something that I'll be telling my grandkids and my great grandkids about. Like how I was cruising on the Nile with my homies. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And this might shock some people, but I'm gonna be totally honest. I'm like Mac. This was my first time traveling to a Muslim country, and you know, we grew up around. You know, I'm from Chicago, the home of the Nation of Islam, we have brothers and sisters that are members of the nation, people that practice, other, forms of Islam. But being in the Islamic country, and it's beautiful women in Cairo, but you can't really tell because everybody's just like super covered up. And that's the one thing, I'm happily married, but that's one thing you notice how beautiful women are in other places. And we really couldn't get that vibe, you know what I'm saying, when we was in Egypt, because all of these women is covered up. Some of the women, you can only see their eyes. So it was really throwing us like, man. And I told Jimmy and Mac, I told Jimmy and B one, like the third or fourth day, like, have y'all noticed, like we ain't seen no. I know we seen some beautiful women, but we haven't seen them because we can't see them. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. So when we got on the cruise ship with the brothers and sisters from Houston and the brothers and sisters that was from Ethiopia, like we got to, see some eye candy. You know what I'm saying? And that was a bonus for us brothers. But it was dope. The cruise ship, like Max said, it was great. The food was solid. You know what I'm saying? Me and him having restrictions on what we can and can't eat. Shout out to the staff. They did a good job of preparing certain foods for us and making sure that we was cool and comfortable. You know what I'm saying? And I really love the fact that the cruise ship never was really, because I've been on the cruise ship. I went on a cruise for my honeymoon, and it was a bigger joint. But this joint, you never really felt like you was really moving that fast. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that you didn't experience no motion sickness, like that was dope, because I experienced a little bit of motion sickness on my cruise, but I didn't get that at all. So however they was operating the cruise ship, they was doing a heck of a job, because it was just smooth sailing all the way around.
Absolutely.
So now we get to Luxor, and this is probably the number three. I'm gonna say Ramses' temple, his wife's temple is 1, Giza's 2. Going to Luxor, going to Karnak was probably number 3. Seeing the Tekkens, because I've been getting on Baba Darre's nerve all week. Where the Tekkens at? Where the obelisk is at? So we got the chance to go to Karnak. Talk about hitting Luxor and going to the Karnak temple and checking out that beautiful facility.
Man, one of the things that I loved about being there is that we got there after the sun went down.
Yes.
Right? Even to when it started to get dark. And when it got dark, man, it got beautiful.
Yeah.
I got some pictures when it was almost dark where I was, and they came out beautifully.
Yeah.
Man, it was, man, that was everything, man. That was the place for me that kind of was like, man, I wish I could see what it looked like before any damage. Because I know that was
cold-blooded.
Man. Like I know that was cold-blooded. Like so, yeah, man, it was dope. I mean, there was a lot of things that was in place. Now here's a little bit of the movie magic too, because we don't keep it 100 with you.
Yeah.
There's some things that just got built yesterday.
Yes.
To try to complete some things, right? And sometimes you can tell, right? Sometimes you can tell, like, wait a minute, this don't look like the rest of these.
Right.
And is there 4 huge statues outside?
Yes.
The one to the far left just got put up yesterday.
Fugazi.
It looked like Elmer Fudd with the Pharaoh joint on.
And Baba Darre talked about how they changed the standing position too, how that wasn't a real position that those statues were built in. So that was a dead giveaway as well.
Right. Because all of this meant something, you know what I'm
Correct.
saying? You know, if they had this, that was like with somebody that was dead, you know, and then they would show you what it meant if they were like alive and all. So yeah, but like I said, it was Elmer Fudd with the Egyptian joint on. You could tell. So there's a little bit of that too, you know, to be perfectly honest. Even to go back to Ramesses II, you know, he put some things on the wall, according to Egyptologists, that didn't really happen.
Right.
You know, he gassed up some victories that he had and things of that nature, right? So when I would hear people who are, you know, like the Kemites, who would be like, oh, such and such is gospel because it's on the wall. Not exactly.
Right, right. And Dare did a good job of talking about that, about how Ramses was known for, you know what I'm saying? Like he was political before political was a thing. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like
right,
he was cold with it, you know what I'm saying? And
right.
I want to backtrack just a little before we get to the close and talk about the Valley of the Kings, which was in Luxor as well. Um this is where it was the hottest day. And I told y'all that that part of Egypt, it was 105, 106 every day.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to the Valley of the Kings and we seen a couple exhibits, which was dope. Seen a couple tombs, which was super dope. So me and Rhythm come out early. So it's just me and Rhythm sitting on the wall, just chilling, chopping it up, like really amazed at what we just saw. Everybody else is still viewing. And me personally, I'm just sitting out trying to get as much sun as I can get. I always try to get as dark as I can get on any vacation. And man, literally, as soon as I look over, I see a dude pass out. And I'm gonna send the video so y'all can check it out. This dude passes out. They have to carry him out, man. A little older white gentleman. And that's when I made the video. I was like, yo, if you go come to Egypt and you not in some type of shape, like start going to the gym before you go. Because if you want to do all this walking, like Max said, we was walking 6 to 7 miles every day. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? 10 to 15 flights every day. Because on the cruise ship, we had to walk up and down the steps. So, and you going in and out of these temples. So you doing a lot of walking and you getting your cardio in. And before I could even turn and start talking to Rhythm, we see another dude. They walking him out of there. This man is soiled himself. He did pissed and bookied on himself. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, yo, this is real. This heat is real. And Baba Dari said the funniest thing I heard on the whole trip. And he was like, and some people in the world want you to think it was certain group of people that built these temples and these edifices, and they can't even come out here and walk and enjoy it. And I was dying laughing because that's honestly
Right.
probably what we was all thinking. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's no way in the world certain people did this stuff. They had to look like us. But that's another discussion for another day.
Absolutely.
Let's transition to day 9, which is the day, our last day on the cruise, and our day where we were supposed to go and see these final temples. Now, before I throw the Mac, I'm gonna throw myself under the bus because by day 6, 7, and 8, like stuff starts running together. We didn't went in so many temples because it's temples we went into that we didn't even talk about tonight. That's how many temples we went into.
Right.
Stuff starts running together. So I sneak online. I'm like, yo, this stuff look dope, but I feel like it's some stuff we seen. Like, so I go to Mac because that's Dare's man. So I'm like, yo, you think Dare of mine if we just kind of sit out this last day and just kind of chill and rest and recoup before we take this flight from Luxor back to Cairo, and then we got to take our flights from Cairo back home. So then Mac was like, yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. Let's just see. So I'm like, all right, bet. So I got Mac on board. So I'm like, okay, we cool. So I tell Dare, I tell Dare, and Dare like, well, it's all what the group want to do. So of course, the group don't want to do it. So I'm like, oh snap. So I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna be the team player. So I'm gonna stop there and then let Mac finish the story.
So, so let me say this. We asked about, so I wasn't even thinking, I'm just thinking like, man, I'm going to land in Cairo at about 11:30 at night. And I got to stay in the airport because me and Baba Dare is taking a flight that is leaving at 3 a.m. to go to Istanbul. And then me and him are going to spend 7 hours touring Istanbul,
Right.
then get on a flight to come home. So I'm like, all right, it is what it is, right? And then D comes and puts the battery in my back and saying, hey, man, like, man, it ain't even that cold. It ain't nothing we done went to Luxor. We
Right.
done went to the pyramids of Giza. Like, ain't nothing gonna beat that, right? And then like, we ain't even, like you said, we went to so many we didn't even talk about. One of which was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, you got a point. And I'm like, my day even longer,
Right.
right? So I'm like, let's go ahead and do it. So, but I told him, I said, everybody's not going to agree to this. I'm telling you that right now. I know our group of four, D, myself, Rhythm, and Brian. I know they gonna agree.
Right.
Everybody else not gonna agree. So once D kind of backs out, what I felt like is that Brian and Rhythm was like, it's whatever. So it's like I go to the room, let me go start packing. We gotta get up.
At
We
6.
was no, we had to leave.
At 6.
Like check out, be done walking outside at 6 in the morning, right? So
Yeah.
I'm start packing. Now I gotta pack my book bag with some clothes to get on the flight because you go, it's hot, it's 100-some degrees, and you're gonna be t-shirt, whatever. Then, you know what I'm saying, my nuts gonna be musty, and I'm gonna put on a clean outfit to get on the plane, and man, this is gonna be all bad, right? So I'm begrudgingly packing my stuff. My phone goes off. I look at it, and Rhythm is like, "Hey, but wait a minute though. Just because D said he done punked out, that don't mean the rest
One
of
monkey
it.
don't stop no show.
One monkey don't stop no show." So Brian, like for real,
Right.
I'm trying to chill too. So here I go. I go to work. I go to Google. I find a resort basically up the street. It's dope. 5-star resort. So I go, we have a meeting upstairs on the deck, right?
Yep.
Me, Rhythm, Brian, they like, let's do it. I go ahead and I book 3 rooms, right? Got it all laid out. Called them up. Hey, we need early
Tell them the
check-in.
price though. Tell them the price.
So for each room, king size, I mean, it's a resort.
Yeah.
5-star.
The Steinberger.
The Steinberger.
It was
The
nasty.
Steinberger Resort, because it's 2 Steinbergers. They're both 5-star, but one is just, it's a regular hotel, but it's a 5-star. The other one is a resort. That's where we stayed at. 63 American dollars. That's 63 George Washingtons.
Right.
Right? That is 3 of the Harriet Tubman $20 bills.
Right.
And 3 George Washingtons, right? So I book it, right? So I send a message to Baba Dari like, hey, just FYI, yeah, me, Rhythm, and Brian, we ain't gonna see y'all in the morning. I appreciate you. I'm gonna see y'all at the thing, at the airport.
At the airport.
I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Wake up, we ready. So we stay in our room till like 8. You know what I'm saying? We sleep in. We go downstairs, get us some breakfast. Get the car. We go to the Steinberg, right? It is even better. Have you ever been somewhere that was better? Like, because usually
the pictures look like
the pictures they usually like, you know what I'm saying, put a little movie magic on them pictures.
Right.
Man, it was even better. It literally had like a little outdoor mini mall outside of it too. Man, it was so dope. We like, well, I ain't gonna say none of us. Me and Rhythm didn't go to sleep. Me and Rhythm went right, dropped our stuff off. Me and Rhythm hit the pool.
Right.
Go swimming and then sit out at the pool for a minute. Laid out there for a minute. Then we ate, you know what I'm saying, at the spot. And it was just, man, it was dope. We just hung out. And then so D giving us commentary the whole way, like, yeah, you know, we gonna just come and swoop y'all. No, y'all not.
No, let me pause Mac right here. Now, they slept into 8, 9 o'clock, have breakfast, and they go to the Steinberger. We get up at 5. We leave out at 6. We have to pack up all our stuff in the van, and now we have to go. We go into these last 2 temples, which is like the first temple was 2 hours away. The second temple was another 2 hours away from that one. We in the van. So I'm thinking to myself, like, man, I'm always trying to be a team player. I should have been selfish right here. But I was cool because I had my man Jose with me. My man Jose from Portugal, that was my guy the whole time. So me and Jose was cool. You know what I'm saying? So we hitting up the temples, and then about 9 to 10 o'clock, this when I know they up and moving. Hey, man, send us some images. I'm like, I ain't sending y'all nothing. They want me to send them the images of the tomb. So I sent the one that Jimmy like, yeah, this is getting posted as if I was there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we hit up these temples. And that was dope. I'm glad I went. You know what I'm saying? I would have liked to have been at the Steinberger, but hindsight, I'm glad I did go because the ride there wasn't as long as what we thought it was gonna be. And the one thing that we did, we get to see some more of the real people. And shout out to Rafi. We got us some Egyptian street food, which was vegan. It was dope. It was great. It was super dope. So now we're on the way back. So I'm like, yo, man, where y'all at, man? We go come swoop y'all up to ride to the hotel. And then Jimmy was like, no, we cool. We just go ride this out until we can't, until it's time to go to the max. So we get back to the airport. They still at the Steinberger kicking it. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Yeah, because so peep this. The flight didn't leave to what, 10:30?
Yeah, 10 o'clock because we supposed to
At
land
night.
back in Cairo at 11:30. It's an hour and a half flight.
So we ain't gotta leave. Or we ain't gotta get there till about 8:30.
Yep.
Like, y'all about to swoop us at 5?
Yeah, because we got back mad early.
Out of this 5-star resort that we done booked? Man, right. Ain't no way. D was like, yeah, we'll come swoop. I was like, tell them we good. We gonna find our own way. We cool. We don't need no ride. We are all experienced world travelers.
Right.
We know how to book a ride to the spot. Like, we straight. So we stayed. And man, I was able to shower, you know what I'm saying? I done ate all day, so you know what I'm saying? You was able to go use the bathroom and get cleaned out before the trip, you know what I'm saying? Get freshened up.
Right.
And when we got to the airport, they looked like struggle. they looked like hard times, right? Like we basically skipped in the airport.
Yeah, they did.
We was out there, we frolicked through the airport. When we seen them, they looked like hard times.
Now, mind you, I told y'all at the beginning of this podcast that in Egypt, you can pretty much smoke anywhere. And we in the airport, and they got the airport lounge. Well, they got a lounge for people to smoke, but they kept the door open. So we done been riding all day, and now I'm sitting in the airport with smoke, and I was just so annoyed. So when he said we were struggling, I was definitely struggling at that point because I was tired and I was annoyed because these people were smoking these cigarettes like they was going out of style, man. So we get on our flight. Our flight was actually late too. Our flight was like 30 minutes behind. So we supposed to get back to Cairo at like 11:30, and we didn't get back till midnight. So I got to hear Jimmy's mouth even more. Well, I'm glad we went to the Steinberger because saying like this flight getting back 30, 40 minutes late. I really ain't gonna have that much time. Like me and Dara gotta go to our gate and get ready to hit Istanbul. So I gotta hear his mouth. So we get on our flight, get back to Cairo, and then that's when everybody goes their separate ways. We had rooms at the Novotel Hotel. Shout out to Barbara Dara because that was our nicest room. I was there. Like we had like they put me in a honeymoon suite. Like I ain't want to leave. Like it was super dope. And then him and Dare took their flight going back to Istanbul. But it was a bittersweet moment because everybody was going their separate ways. You've been with people for 10, 11 days. You get the chance to learn about them and enjoy their company. And then we was, going back to reality, coming back home. Talk about your ride to Istanbul and talk about what you guys got a chance to see in Turkey while you was there before you got back to Houston.
So, I wanted that stamp. So Dara and I got to Istanbul and did something I've never done before at an airport. Like we got a locker, we put our bag, like I had a book bag or backpack, and he had a backpack, and he had like some souvenirs that he had like in a little bag.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and put all of that in the locker, and we hit an Uber, and we went to. Now you gonna have to say the name of it because I'm gonna mess it up. That's the mosque, or it's really a church.
Oh, the Hagia and the Sophia.
Yeah, we went to go see that. Now here's the thing, right? Now we've been giving Muslims all this credit for these mosques. They actually stole that from a church.
That's a fact.
It was like that style. It was a church that they got it from.
Yep.
That we went to when we were in Egypt, and they have one that is basically not even basically, it's the exact same layout, right? But imagine like when you buy something and then your cousin who got more money buy the same thing, but they got more money, so
They
they
soup
freak
it
it a
up.
little bit.
Yep.
It was like that, but it had some brand new stuff to it. But it was dope. And it was, I mean, it's a big tourist attraction, so it was packed, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it was, man, it was breathtaking. And I
Mm.
know I done said it a couple of times, but it really was. I'm just sitting there with my video camera and I'm recording and I'm like, yo, like this is dope.
Yeah.
So I got to see the Tekken that they took from Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see that. And it was like on this square, right? And this square, it was dope. Like it was beautifully put together. Um, you had that. I went to go see the Blue Mosque.
Mm.
That was beautiful. That I mean, it was huge, big, huge courtyard in the front. Um, beautiful mosque that they copied from a church. I'm just gonna keep
Right.
putting that out there. But man, it was dope. It was dope. It wasn't no black people
Yeah.
in Istanbul at all. But it wasn't like Egypt, where I mean, it's a heavily Muslim country, but everybody wasn't, with the hijab.
Yeah.
Uh,
They're a little bit more liberal in Turkey.
yeah, a lot more liberal. We actually ate good too, man. I found a good little spot. I had some lentil soup and some bread to go with it. The bread was good too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was nice. The weather was nice there. It wasn't hot. So I had my hoodie on the whole time, but it was nice. It
Yeah.
wasn't hot. It wasn't cold at all. And the people were cool, you know. Streets clean. I really pay attention to that type of stuff, like the
Yeah.
cleanliness of different places. The streets were clean. And I couldn't really tell like who I was around because I know it's a tourist place, and it was way too many people in there just for that to be like,
The regulars.
the regulars, exactly. So it was cool. So we got to tour all that. Man, I like water, So just the whole city is surrounded by water. So
Mm.
just the drive from the airport, it was about 45 minutes to, you know, um, where we went from the airport. And just the ride was beautiful, beautiful. I wish I was sitting on the opposite side so I could record the videos up because you just sit on the harbor and you at the boats. It makes me want to go back
Just to
to Turkey, yeah, just to take it in,
yeah.
spend a little time, and then go to other cities in Turkey. But yeah, it was really dope. And then we
That's
had to
awesome.
book it back, you know. So if you're ever traveling and excuse me, and you can have a little like a layover in Istanbul, man, I would say do it. Getting your visa is super easy. Getting transportation, like I said, they got Uber, so I got my Uber app on, and I've taken Uber in so many different countries. So you got your Uber app, so it's super easy, right? People speak English, no problem.
Yeah.
So I suggest if you're going on that part of the world and you can, do a layover. I know there's popular layovers in like Amsterdam or France when you're going, to that part of the
Morocco
world.
is another big one too.
Yeah, yeah. I would suggest to do that.
Definitely Istanbul. Yeah, I gotta go check that out because shout out to Walter Williams who broke down all that stuff about the Hagia and Sophia. His book, his two books, The Historical Origins of Christianity and The Historical Origins of Islam, and talk about how those places were churches. Like it's a great read and great books to check out. But in closing, man, like I just want to say, like, this was a great trip. It was a learning trip, unlike Panama, where it was more of a retreat, more of a reset. We did coning, ear coning, and massage, and all those different type of things. Even though we did get a massage at our hotel in Aswan, which
Hmm.
was dope, but this was probably the most structured vacation slash trip I've ever been on.
Absolutely.
And I thought I would not like it because I like to just kind of free flow. Like anybody that travel with me, like I just be on the beach just sunbathing, just trying to get black. That's what I do. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that I had to get up and be moving and grooving the whole time was not that bad because it was a place that I've been wanting to get to my whole life. Again, me and B had our stamps and our old passports the year that Mubarak, when they overthrew the government and got him up out of there. Like, I was literally driving to New York and turned around and came back that night because our flights got shut down. So, and that was in like 2010, 2011. So this is something that, a place I've been trying to get to for quite a long time. And I'm happy I went. I'm happy I went with the people I went with. I have a new friend. Me and Mac talked about our girl Mar, who we met in Panama from Chile, and we met the male version of Mar. His name was Jose, brothers from Portugal. He came to the United States, got his master's from Harvard. So just talking to him and creating a bond with him. I'm talking to him in WhatsApp now. He's giving me gaming information for my sons and for college and things of that nature. So those are the things I love about traveling and seeing other parts of the world, having a chance to learn from other people. He was super dope. And as soon as they got to the airport, just to go back a little bit to show you how funny Jose is. As soon as they get to the airport, because we at the airport waiting on them, like Max said, we had the struggle face on a little bit. We've been in the van for 5-6 hours, so we had the struggle face. And here they come all refreshed, been swimming and taking baths and everything. And the first thing Jose said, "Here come the chillers." He called them chillers, like they have been chilling all day while we riding around looking at these other tombs. But Jose was just my dude, man. So hopefully he'll see this and get a laugh, man. But anything in closing, Mac, before we get up out of here, man? We ride at over an hour.
The thing that you said about Jose is, to me, the most important thing. I tell people, man, I don't go on vacations, I travel.
Yes.
And I know people who travel, and I'm not knocking it. Whatever you like is what you like, but it's everything. It's party, it's drinking, it's clubbing, country to country to country. Man, I go to really get in tune with them people.
That's right.
And it has really enriched my life and my experiences. And like they said, I mostly travel like on my international stuff, especially like by myself. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? D, Rhythm, Brian, and my people, we on our second trip together as a group. They've been on trips, before without me, before Panama. But them my peoples, I'm cool. I'm good with them. I'm very bougie when it comes to my traveling. So
we know.
For me to run it back with them, because I'm used to being able to move however I want to. And it was the most structured trip I ever had. And it's only something I would do for something like Egypt. But
exactly.
That type of structure, because you kind of got to.
It had to have some structure. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So, man, go travel international. If you ain't got no passport, man, go get you a passport today.
Yeah.
If you ain't got nobody to go with, go by yourself. I'm talking to you ladies as well.
Yeah.
It was dope. And one last thing I'm gonna say in closing, as a priest of V5, man, going to Egypt, every religion, every spiritual tradition, foundation can be found in Egypt. Point blank, period.
Wow. We're gonna have to come back at another point, and maybe y'all will talk about that on the upcoming season of Who Made Y'all Priests. Because, man, like, I know why you said that, and we had conversations, but I think a lot of the people gonna be like, hold on, man, don't leave us with that cliffhanger. How is that? You know what I'm saying? So that'll be something that y'all can talk about in the next season or at another point. But, man, it's been a great opportunity to share our experiences that we had while we were in Egypt for the last, 10 days. Just got back about a week ago. And it was just amazing. If you ever want to go and you don't know if you should go. You're going to enjoy. You're going to have a good time. And one last thing I want to talk about, and we forgot, Ramadan ended when we was in Aswan on that Friday. And you talk about the turn up. The turn up was real. Like our Egyptologist Rafi couldn't eat or smoke, and I give them a lot of credit. Like, we going up and now, mind you, we going up in these pyramids and these temples, and they can't drink or do nothing. And Rafi liked to smoke his squares. That's his thing. You know what I'm saying? So when Ramadan was over, man, Rafi was smoking cigarettes every 30 minutes. But the turn up was real. To see their celebration when Ramadan came to a close was really dope. It was a great experience, and I was happy to be able to experience that with them. But definitely, like Max said, if you don't have a passport, go get your passport. Start somewhere close like Canada, Mexico, and then just venture out. You know what I'm saying? This life is to be lived, and there's a lot of this world to see. I'm just getting started myself. So I would encourage everybody else to do the same thing. But I'll let you get the class closing words, Mac, before we get out of here.
Man, I think we just said it all, man. Travel, man. Go see the world. You know, don't be afraid. Don't, man. Every country I've been to then had some alert from the United States that say danger, don't go.
Right, right.
I had people at my even at my job was like, "Yo, man, we scared for you to go there." I'm like, "I'm
Yeah.
good."
My family was the same way. Like, you always just gotta go somewhere. You can't never sit down. Like, I'm like, what y'all scared for? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, this life is to be lived. Man, nobody got time to be worried about what could happen. Something can happen here in the United States. It's an active shooter every 5 minutes in America. Like, chill out, man. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
don't let people project their fears and insecurities on you and stop you from doing and seeing places that you want to go see and touch down on. So, man, just go travel and go enjoy this life, man. But that's it, man. It's been a great time and opportunity to speak with and share with you guys on our trip. And again, hopefully we just encourage you guys to travel and go see parts of the world that you never thought you would go. Peace and blessings.
Peace.